Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sunless Skies. It's been a little while, actually. I took off to play Sekiro, and my relationship with Sunless Skies is not strictly monogamous. And Sunless Skies knows that, and she lets me do it. Don't worry. I only want the best for us. So sometimes you gotta play other games, you know? Oh, good. London is gone. Yes. So there was a little update to the game while I was gone, and the map's been moved about somewhat, which is a bit strange considering, but that's kind of the point, isn't it? The other world's supposed to be somewhat randomly generated. Oh my god. Hello there. Just passing through at ease. And here, at last, we arrive at the grave site of the sun. The sun that was killed for the purposes of the Empire. Mausoleum of the Dead, I believe. Like, I know this area, but I'm not familiar with the other two. So that'll be all new for me. Kensington Station, very English. The Nave, the soaring sepulchral heart of the Most Serene Mausoleum, constructed over the cooling embers of Albion's murdered son. The mausoleum was built to house London's most glorious dead. Kensington Station. Kensington Station is tucked into a side chapel. Be escorted inside. The footman watches you alight from your engine. He coughs meaningfully. Amongst the dead, lighting a fresh taper which he carries in a silver holder, the footman leads you through a narrow arch and down a winding spiraled stair. You can hear weeping close by, but the echoes make it hard to discern the source. Soon after, you hear a sharp burst of laughter and music. Occasionally, you can make out the rumble of what the footman confirms to be the London Necropolis Railroad, far below. At the very bottom is an oak-panelled door. The footman unlocks the door, bows, and departs. The footman disappears into the gloom, leaving you alone, facing a desk shaped like a baptismal font. A cheery registrar sits in the middle, waiting to greet you. Introduce yourself. There are protocols that must be followed in the mausoleum. An introduction and a warning. She has you fill out a form indicating your profession, age, usage of hours, and to confirm your legal status as alive.
The Prince Consort's tomb is exceedingly popular. To prevent congestion, donations are requested. The greater the donation, the longer you will be allowed to gaze upon the sepulchre. If one is fortunate enough to garner the attention of one of the deathless, one must be respectful and only speak when spoken to. It does not do for the living to linger long among the dead.
She files away your form into an excessively large black cabinet. Visitors to the Most Serene Mausoleum are ushered into the nave, a vast soaring vault above the heart of the mausoleum. Here, guests to the mausoleum may visit the tomb of the Prince Consort, arrange for the burial of their own dead in the catacombs, or merely enjoy the solemn environs of the Empress monument to her departed love. Write a port report. The Most Serene Mausoleum is, if not the heart of Her Renewed Majesty's domain, then at least its pulmonary valve. Don't read port reports, because if I did, I would be reading too much. And you don't want to read too much, kids. It hurts your eyes and rots your brain, just like computer games. Visit the memorial to the Prince Consort, the most dearly beloved corpse in all Albion. The Most Serene Mausoleum was built to commemorate Her Renewed Majesty's dead love. His tomb is the heart of the mausoleum, the vaults, chapels, mourners and courtiers, all arteries and all capillaries to his memory. To visit the tomb, one must speak to the cheery registrar. Oh God. Return to the nave. You have lingered long enough in the shadow of death. Gangster's paradise, anyone? That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this. In the gangster's paradise, spend most our lives. Approach the deathless. Her Renewed Majesty's most highly favoured courtiers prefer the upper climbs of the nave, away from excitable members of the public. The Most Serene Mausoleum houses more than just the Prince Consort. Under its soaring spires, the Empress keeps her most favoured courtiers. These lucky few are provided with every luxury they might wish, and a generous stipend of hours. The only condition of this bounty is that they are dead. A legality only. They cannot possess property or hold political office as a result. They are the deathless. Occasionally, they deign to appear to visitors. Speak with the luminous cardinal. He is the palpable legate to the high wilderness and her renewed majesty's favourite Catholic. There's a lot more to do here than I remember. It used to just be like those dead cities in China, which no one had moved into yet, but they'd still been built in anticipation. Just empty. Timur Domini. The cardinal is unattended today. As he walks through the sepulchral vaults of the mausoleum, his bright vestments trailing along the flagstones. He notices your gaze and approaches. A footman hurries over to facilitate conversation. His Eminence is delighted to meet a Skyfarer. He has many questions for you for his new exegesis on the Bible. Genesis will need a considerable gloss in light of recent information. The Reach, verdant as Eden. The celestial gates of the Blue Kingdom. The infernal splendour of Euletheria, and so on. His curiosity quenched, he thanks you for your time and leaves with a pater noster for your trouble. Entertain a request from the macabre counsellor. The cheery registrar gives you a note and a worried smile. The macabre counsellor has requested your attendance, an honour rarely granted to the legally living. Into the dark. Several footmen are on hand to escort you from the nave and through the oak-panelled doors that lead down into the catacombs of silence, where the macabre counsellor resides. Black candles burn in silver candelabras, fading tapestries moulder on the walls. In glass cabinets, bones of saints and sinners are displayed with gloomy relish. The macabre counsellor is in a maudlin mood, regaling you with stories of her youth, musing wistfully on her past regrets. I have only one worth mentioning. My daughter. The Empress saw fit to take her from me as a punishment, I suppose. She could be terribly petty, could Vicky. She examines you speculatively. I wish to have my daughter returned to me. Fulfill this commission, and I shall bequeath upon you a great reward. Accept her commission. You are partial to a good reward. Occasionally gets you in trouble. A courtly hostage. She is a hostage at perdurance, kept to ensure my discretion. She hands you several charcoal sketches of her daughter. A pretty presumptuous heiress with dark eyes, and a curly lock of her brown hair. I have an agent in place to assist and to conceal my daughter's escape. You will need invitations to access the half-light mask to effect a rescue. I only have 3 to hand. It is likely you will need to secure more. Your mind returns to her use of the word hostage. An odd choice. Perdurance is said to be a place of endless delights, where the children of society's elite dally in luxury. Surely it shouldn't be too much trouble to rescue one spoiled, presumptuous heiress from the lap of opulence, even if it is, as it were, the Empress' lap. 3 invitations. Great. Now we've just got to spend all our time, instead of partying, looking for someone to bring back home. We're going to have to be the sober ones at the party. Doesn't that suck? Speak with the dismal Chamberlain. The Chamberlain presides over the affairs of the mausoleum. He has seniority of this sepulchre, and rarely meets with visitors. The dismal Chamberlain. Your attempts to meet with the Chamberlain are met with relentless obfuscation. His secretary reschedules the meeting 8 times, eventually arranging it for 6 days ago. You even try waiting all day outside the Chamberlain's office, but he does not appear. His duties include regulation of time in the mausoleum, where the deathless wallow in generous pensions of hours. However, the clocks are not keeping the same time. Has something happened? Finally, you manage to corner the engraved mourner and press him for answers. The Chamberlain is no longer in residence, he replies curtly. We don't dwell on the matter. We suggest you follow suit. I've lost favour? Well, good. I don't like you anyway. Why would I hang out with you stinky old farts? Literally. You smell of death. Okay, approach the deathless. I won't do that again. Ever again. Contemplate the dead sun. The corpse of Albion's old sun is visible from the great rose-coloured window. Partial success. You may as well have just kicked me in the nuts. That's even worse. Then just failure. The sun looks back. The body of the sun is still cooling. A few embers continue to glow at its core, a low and sullen red. When Her Majesty entered Albion, she slew the sun with the experimental weapon, an unclear bomb. Then she claimed the sun's throne and dominion. You can't help feel that. As you gaze on the sun gazes back. Alright, shops. Let's go shopping, boys. We're just going to do a supplies run, get to as many places as humanly possible. We'll earn back that money. Don't worry, it's like a college tuition fee. We'll get it someday. Until then, it's a bit tense. It sounds like it's... Oh my god, what the... I'm scared, Mum. Help me. He won't die. The madman won't die. What the fuck was that? Sunless, my heart will go on. Maybe not at this rate. I'm dead. My heart won't go on. There is a... Ooh, grave robber. I like what they've done with the place, actually. I'm feeling the atmosphere. Oh my god, stop! God, it would be miserable living here, wouldn't it? It would be like living in a state housing. Christ. Not messing about, are they? This feels like a more lived-in world. I'm feeling this. I like what they've done with the place. The decor could do with a bit of work. If you could tone back on the grey and maybe add a couple of paintings in, it'd look fine. Yeah, we'll find something out here. Just you wait. Any minute now. In 2 minutes. Maybe 3. What in fuck's name is that? Is this the Clockwork Sun? Is that what you're trying to show me? Why am I getting combat music? Why am I getting combat music? Does someone want to tell me? Sunspur. Alright, have I been here? Arrival at the sun. No, I have not. Sunspur. The dock is rarely used and its maintenance has lapsed. There's evidence of rust and metal strain, but only of non-crucial components. It's safe to stop. For now. Once inside the dock, the sun's scouring light is diminished. Arrival at the sun. An outpost on the roaring edge of the sun, shielded from malevolent light by an eggshell of stained glass. As you emerge from your train, suit-swaddled engineers gather, plainly astonished by your arrival. They bombard you with complex questions about how you dealt with the dense sunlight and skewed Chronos solar fields. Once satisfied, they hand out protective suits to you and your crew. Yours is patched and torn, one boot missing. You successfully reached the Clockwork Sun. Congrats. Wow. I did it. Drug into your suit. An engineer sprays you with a substance that smells like lemons gone wrong. It searches your pockets. A cursory effort at best. They seem distracted. Sunlight seeps like syrup through cracks in the stained glass ceiling. The floor shudders in time with the churning machinery far beneath your feet. The air has a tang of chemicals, bonfires and rain. Pistons pump and cogs turn, and suit-swaddled figures tend to the machinery, bellowing over the shrieking metal. At a port report, the Clockwork Sun is the preeminent symbol of the Empire's heavenly dominion. The newspapers in London call it enduring, everlasting, eternal. And head toward the sun-dialed shaped building. You'll be one of the sequencer's new favourite projects, one of the engineers tells you. It'll keep him out of our hair for a while. Azimuth. Azimuth is an enormous sundial without shadow. It's roof topped by a golden shark-fin gnome. I've been genomed. There are still racks of yellowed pamphlets on the walls. It once served as a kiosk, selling tickets to sunspots. The pilgrims and tourists that were expected to flock here. These days it's more like a temple. Frescoes on the curved walls depict the triumph of the new sun over the old. A figure in a yellow collared protective suit is delivering a sing-song sermon to mostly empty pews. The dazzled sequencer looks up, delighted at your approach, and hurriedly wraps up his speech. He offers you tea with a flash of 2 white teeth. Ask the dazzled sequencer about his role in the sun. The only other people up here are disturbed prisoners and exhausted engineers. The sequencer's function.
I'm the priest of the new sequence, declares the sequencer. The brightest truth, the wildfire that has swept Albion.
He points to the expanse of the sun.
There burns a beacon, a saviour, an aspect of God. We venerate the Clockwork Sun and his immortal architect, our Empress. I'm here to greet pilgrims and to safeguard the souls of our engineers. Azimuth is also the only access route to the sun-shattered dome, an exhibition hall that was built back when we received more visitors. The dome is terribly dangerous, and I advise you to avoid it, no matter how much you hear about the priceless artifacts inside.
The sequencer has a request.
Together we can help the less fortunate, he says. You'll be compensated for your time.
With ours? That would be ironic. A charitable mission.
There are many poor souls out there in need of our help. Beleaguered, ignorant masses. I've never met them, but I am assured they exist.
He pauses to wipe his eyes.
When we lift them from their contemptible state, perhaps they will come to appreciate the greatness of the sequence.
He sends an orderly to fetch a wooden crate. Once it's set down before him, he raps the lid proudly.
600 manuals on how to correctly tie a bow tie. Deliver these to Brabazon Workworld, and I'm sure they will be immensely benefited by their improved understanding of etiquette.
You have one well-intentioned package. Leave Azimuth. I'm pretty sure this will give us terror, and we kinda don't want to rock with the terror right now. Turn to the yelling of engineers and roaring of machinery. Visit the glass house. There's a dozen signs warning you to stay away, each more insistent than the last. The engineers shout, but they're too busy to stop you. The glass house, an isolated section of the abandoned exhibition halls, has been repurposed to hold not treasures, but prisoners. Each wears a grey smock rather than a protective suit, leaving them utterly undefended from the ravages of sunlight. They sit slumped in unlocked cells, making no effort to escape. Where would they go? Some of the prisoners are shining at the seams. Some have eyes curdled of glass. A fractured face turns to watch you. A few are singing in praise of the sun, mouths bloody and throats tattered. You should perhaps be horrified, but the song wraps tender chords around your mind and numbs you. Glass crunches underfoot. When you lift your boot, you discover a cracked ear beneath. Speak with the prisoners, either scream or sing. You may not get anything halfway lucid from them. Failure. Scream and song. You sit beside a wild bearded prisoner whose entire low body has turned to glass, fixing him forever in a cross-legged pose. One crystalline hand, vitrified at the wrist, has been fused to his knee. He mumbles a half-coherent account of what he's seen happen to his fellow prisoners and what he fears will happen to him. Before he can conclude his story, he breaks into a song, the high notes coinciding with the pulses of the sudden bright sunlight. Approach the half glass empty. I argue it's a half glass full, you pessimist. Only one cell is locked, and the man within is neither singing nor screaming. The left half of his body is shimmering, translucent. Only the flesh and muscle of his left half is vitrified, not the bones and blood within. The glass is suffused with 1,000 fine frozen capillaries, like delicate red cracks running through ice. He fixes you with an anguished stare. Get me out of here. Why is the cell locked? And he's alone? This was an exhibition hall once, never a prison. An engineer must have had to install those bars especially for him. The empty's conviction. The others would not leave, even if they could. Their minds are lost. The empty attempts a one-sided shrug. And, well, the Empire sent me here because I was smuggling sunlight from beneath, back before this horizon closed. When I sold it, I told my customers that light from the Clockwork Sun was toxic, and true sunlight was the only cure. It ended up causing a minor panic in London. I think one of the engineers locked me in because he took offence at my criticism, though he gestures at his vitrified body. I stand by it. Agreed to help the empty escape. A barely perceptible nod. The glass in his neck creaks. Thank you. His voice is hoarse and he speaks in barely a whisper. You will need to find a permit for my release and present it to the steward. Forged, legitimate, I don't care. Well, you know, man, I got places to be. Goodbye. You've left the prisoners behind, so why do you still hear their songs? Descend to the terpsichore vault. The vault's below a safer, protected by a dozen layers of stained glass. Beneath the machine-bristling surface you find a ring of 9-volt doors, each engraved with the name of a classical muse. 8 are locked and barred, behind signs saying things like vacant or under renovation, or in one case, unfortunate chronological discrepancies. The 9th, marked Terpsichore, is the only door open to you. When you enter, your footsteps ring through dusty barracks and abandoned canteens. It is the engineers' quarters. They are all on the surface working. Except one. The broken steward has been working on the sun since before it first shone. She has been here far, far longer than any of the engineers above. The broken steward makes her way carefully toward you, cane clacking on the floor. She has a markedly stiff-limbed gait, and her arms creak as she removes her helmet. Speak with the broken steward. She smiles. Her teeth glint oddly. The broken steward. She catches you glancing at her mouth and smiles even wider. Her teeth are shards of cracked glass protruding at odd angles from her gums. It's not just the teeth, she says with a brusque air that brooks no sympathy. Damn sun turned my bones as well. Terrible nuisance, really. It gets in the way of work. You notice her fixed neck, her stiff limbs, her careful movements. It's not bad, she said. Good thing I like soup. It's a terrible Bane impression, but I'm going to do it. And the only reason I did it was because she's got the mask, right? Right, this is a horror. Okay. So that's why we're receiving a bit of angst. Oh my god. The disrespect. Chucking that corpse aside like it's nobody's problem. McMaster's pen. Oh, it's Pen Island. Really matured as a human being, haven't I? Still making Pen Island jokes. I am 20 years old. Oh, that's nice. Out into the wild.
Yes, I agree. Quite spectacular.
Thank you, David.
It's
the majesty of nature. Oh yes, you have to do a reverse park job here. And I'm not good at reverse park jobs at the best of time. And now they're making me do it in Sunless Sky. Just to humiliate me. Ignominy. The airy, pretty mansions of stone and glass rise above the verdant gardens, while below machines whir and groan. A persistent sound of hammering pounds through the air. The Celestial Exhibition. To the delight of mostly himself, the mellifluous president is planning an exhibition in the Royal Society. Its theme will be the science of the skies. He's happy to pay visiting captains for items of interest that might come across. Denote an uncanny specimen? Oh, really? No. The Royal Society, the words Nullius in Verba are written across the stonework above the great bronzewood doors. Her renewed Majesty has granted these grounds to the finest minds in Albion to work here. Their purview is to invent, to hypothesize, to discover, and, most crucially, to watch the stars. Introduce yourself at Airy House. The Royal Society welcomes careful captains. An offer of work. The mellifluous president greets you. He directs your attention to the new marble on the floors, to the cheerful portraits of distinguished Royal Society members lining the hallway, and finally to the very large portrait of himself in his plush library. We do like captains here at the Royal S. We need our space and, frankly, our comforts to think. But it is you brave souls who do the real legwork. Extremely educational. If not, our gardens are extremely fine, as it is our conversation in the port. Okay. Wander the gardens. Oof, maybe not. Who would have thought that walking around gardens would be so dangerous? Visit the mellifluous president. He intimated there might be work for industrious skyfarers. Hello, Captain. Do come in. Do come in. The mellifluous president steeples his fingers. On his desk, metal sun suspended from silver frames clack in the breeze. Now, are you here about work? Or do you consider the term vulgar as well? I send reports back to London periodically, but we can't be everywhere. So much to do. So little time, places of particular solar activity will do nicely. Deliver a report from the Clockwork Sun. We would be very interested in information concerning our beloved star. Well, why not? Sic transit gloria mundi. The mellifluous president folds up your report neatly and tosses it into the fire raging in the hearth. A bead of nervous sweat courses down his forehead as he watches it carefully, not looking away until it is ash. I see. Very good, Captain. Very good. Oh. Okay, take it, whatever. Require an invitation to Perdurance. A small stack of invitations to the Half-Light Mask are impaled on a paper spike on his desk. He won't say why he has them, but he will part with one if you can tell him something about the sky he doesn't know. An invitation. Good Lord, really? Well. He hands over one of the invitations. The card is elegantly embossed, inscribed with a gold liquid script. The puncture mark from the paper spike seems like an appalling blemish. Attend a port reception. There are always achievements to celebrate at the Royal Society. New publications, new inventions, new colleagues. Her Majesty's scientific work is never done. The Newton Ballroom. A few awed captains mingle in the palatial ballroom with astronomers, engineers and scientists. Conversation is stilted, but the cheese and biscuits are plentiful, as is the port. The mellifluous president attempts to tell jokes. Spirits improve when the careless Devless enters, carrying pilfered wines from the Rochester Club, accompanied by the inscribed tinkerer with a blistering homebrew. You wake up alone in your cabin, surrounded by remnants of what appear to have been a party. Someone has remodelled your sink to be more aerodynamic. Your headache is unforgivable. Write a port report. Someone will be interested in what they're getting up to here. Nell's Tower. The Royal Society's observatory is named for King Charles' canniest mistress, Nell's Tower is the jewel in the society's crown. Arriving at Nell's Tower, a sign on the door in neat copperplate reads, Nell's Tower closed for the 13th annual Airy Dinner. I know, I just attended it. And I'll attend it again. There is a polite cough at your shoulder. Turning, you see a tall man with a beard like a nest of vipers. The supercilious bursar introduces himself. I came to round up stragglers, but as a captain you are of rank sufficient to attend the dinner, if you wish to attend. Attend the 13th annual Airy Dinner. There will be port, Captain. The dinner is held in the mahogany and marble imperial dining room of the Airy House. Every piece of the dinner service is mismatched, and both the furniture and personages in the room are pleasantly rumpled. The supercilious bursar brings you to the high table where the 3 senior astronomers of Nell's Tower are holding court. You are introduced to the senatorial professor, the chair for the effulgent sciences, and the lecturer for imperial affairs as the first course is served. Dine on the game pie. It is ample and succulent, his flesh lightly roasted. Let's get them supplies into us. The meat is rich as the Burgundy Reach wines popular in the salons of London these days. It has been cooked in its own juices, and the flesh is as tender as the reassurances of one of Magdalen's attendants. Nice callback. Cantankerous, don't you know? The lecturer in Imperial Affairs remarks, slicing into her own portion. The first course ends with a great smacking of lips and a general feeling of goodwill towards the chef. Talk to the chair for the effulgent sciences. Her eyes are wild. She has savaged the potatoes. Her conversation rambles, but her language is poetry. Scattering of discourses. She interrupts you repeatedly to make this point or that. At first, these feel like random interjections, but by the end she is refuting points you made at the start of the course and anticipating your jokes with wild-eyed delight.
I've always been in love with the heavens,
is all the biography you get from her, however. The second course ends with a lecturer in Imperial Affairs telling a rather ribald joke and a hearty toast to the continued health of all present. The supercilious bursar passes the dish of buttered potatoes with an oily smile. The conversation continues, lubricated by Herculean quantities of port. Buttered potatoes, roast squirmings, and sautéed Hibernian mushrooms are devoured in between rhetorical thrusts. Sherbets produced in London's wheat shops, sponge cake from the Admiral Nelson's on Port Prosper, clotted cream, and actual strawberries grown in the gardens. More port. The conversation grows looser. The story is more risque. The supercilious bursar leans in conspiratorially. I arrange these dinners to promote unity, you understand? And of course, for the good memory of our previous president, who nobly argued for the introduction of the society to wilderness and convinced Her Majesty of our utility. You toast the large portrait of Airy that dominates the room. Talk to the senatorial professor. He has procured brandy from somewhere. His port is shamefully neglected. Grumbling in the ranks, he pours you a measure of amber liquid. I'm sorry, it's a sherry glass. We're not allowed to use the brandy glasses anymore after what happened last time. He waggles his eyebrows meaningfully and swells his glass. I apologize for our fractiousness. London isn't allowing us to move the telescope. They've got it pointing at barren sky. Our research is on hold until we get official word. Maddening. Third course comes to close with a great groaning and heartfelt but false protestations that one couldn't possibly manage cheese and biscuits after all this. Oh. The supercilious bursar leans in as the plates are cleared away. Before we adjourn, there is a question of patronage to consider. All eyes are on you. A hush falls over the table. The 3 faces of the astronomers are turned to you. The supercilious bursar continues as though nothing has changed. Our telescope is operated only by the will of the government. We are not allowed to move the telescope without permission. A bold skyfarer such as yourself might obtain such permission, or at least an official-looking document that could be conceivably construed as permission. Our astronomers would be very much interested in patronizing you. You're patronizing me already, mate. You bring them a permit, they can advance their researches. In exchange, they'll teach you what they know. I want the wild-eyed one. Let's have some fun. Choose the chair for the effulgent sciences. The wild-eyed astronomer specialising in the habits of the stars will be your patron. An alarming scholar. She lets out a high laugh. Wild are the shrieks of the bat-winged curators that ride the celestial winds. I'll show you things, Captain. Come to the tower, do. Oh, and make sure you got a permit. Okay, the Queen's astronomers. Here, astronomers turn the vast steel telescope to the heavens and report on the movements of the stars. Observe the Clockwork Sun. London authorises and encourages this use of telescope. The Ministry has stamped permits for this particular usage up to the next century, the Bursar informs you. State of the Sun. Sun's rays wash over Albion from corner to corner like a pale tide. Its light waxes and wanes, something burnished gold, sometimes grey gold as a parliamentarian's beard. Looking closer, you can see activity on the Sun. Sporadically, it turns, its terrible machinery spinning. Occasionally, it hits resistance and judders to a halt. The Rochester Club. A cosy country house bolted on the side of the Society's glass houses and overgrown lawns. This is the meeting place of the infamous Rochester Racing Club. The clubhouse. Brandy glasses gleam on the shelves, polished brass fixtures abound, a fire roars in the hearth, members sit in comfortable armchairs, comparing war stories, parts salvaged from broken trains adorn the walls. Drop off the driver. They're eager to get to the races. You are not going anywhere. Inquire into joining the Rochester Club. You are, after all, a captain of the skies. Proving yourself. The dismal debutante curls her lip. The boisterous Harridan cackles. The current Lord Rochester laughs gamely before abruptly stopping. Oh, you were serious, he coughs to conceal his embarrassment. Well, you should really wish to join our merry company. You'll have to prove yourself a proper racer. The careless deviless in her smoked velvet jacket appraises you carefully. You'll need to prove your mettle, my dear, with one of our races, and we'll be happy to admit you. Who cares, right? Portsmouth House. The workshops under the area are known collectively as Portsmouth House. The glass and brick factories are staffed by harassed inventors and engineers working constantly to produce the next advancement in adventuring equipment. The Portsmouth Arsenal. Smoke and soot, glass and steel. The ring of hammers on metal, the swearing of engineers, the acrid scent of sweat. Here in the bowels of Portsmouth House, the scientists of the Royal Society work to produce experimental designs for daring captains. A team of engineers led by the energetic mechanic are excited to get work on whatever that you'll pay them for. Peruse the designs. What have the finest minds in Albion come up with? Nothing, apparently. Pieces the engineers have reluctantly accepted are finished are stored in this long gallery of steel and glass. The equipment gleams behind glass cases, like exhibits in a technical-minded museum.
Take your time,
The energetic mechanic says, leaning against the wall.
just let me know if I can be of any assistance.
Turn to the arsenal. You've seen all you wanted to. Thank you. No, I'm not contributing anything to your damn cause. Goodbye. You won't be harassing me no longer. The workshop. Here the Society constructs specialist equipment to further the Society's explorations, London's armaments, and the occasional Sky Captain's adventures. Talk to the engineers. Perhaps they will be willing to furnish your locomotive with advanced equipment. Distractions. The senior engineer marches across the smoggy workshop floor to meet you.
Well,
She barks.
sorry, I mean hello. We're frightfully busy. We're examining the effects of vitrification on Murgatroyd's tea. We've just had a breakthrough.
There is a gentle explosion behind her, followed by the tinkle of shattering glass.
Sorry, mustache. Do visit the arsenal if you're looking for something special.
Visit the inscribed Tinkerer, the most famous or notorious engineer associated with the Royal Society. The inscribed Tinkerer likes her workbench tidy and her tea as strong as the devil's opinions. She believes in iteration, of technology, of society, of people, and her inventions are intended to mitigate specific dangers and obstacles of the high wilderness. Her tea-stained notebook bulges with blueprints and her skin is covered in inky treatments of the correspondence. She raises an eyebrow as you enter her office.
Thank God I was in need of a break, the Tinkerer's request. If it's work you're after, Captain, I can be of assistance in that department.
A commission. The inscribed Tinkerer produces a slim notebook.
The correspondence, Captain. The incandescent language, the Pentecostal tongues of the stars.
She invites you to examine the broken sigils that score her skin, mirrored in her notebook.
I've heard of a unique sigil I've not come across before. It's been cited by students in Trader's Wood, by an old friend of the mausoleum, and by my least favourite person in Pan. As a captain, you could get to those places and confirm the sighting. I'd give you access to a few of my unique designs, should you wish to help.
Inscriptions in the sky, yeah. Gee. That was a mouthful. Oh boy. That's going to do it for me. My throat's about done. Sunless Skies, everyone. We'll continue next week. Ta-ta.